It's top rated.
All right, it's a little bit after 12, so we will go ahead and call the meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a quorum, and we're going to do a little extra. We have a couple new faces, and we have a little bit more time at the lighter agenda. So we'll go around the room, introductions for our new members here. So I'm Matt Overfeld, Campbell County Administrator, and I'm the board chair for about 55 more minutes. So
Let's see. Okay. Lisa Wilson, Plager, Boone County Citizen Rep. I'm your first vice chair, just for a little bit longer.
David Fields, County Judge Executive, Pendleton County. Been on there since 2015, and next year will be my last year, so.
I'm Bill Mitchell, Citizen Rep for Pendleton County, and I work for David.
Chuck Gillis, Grand County Judge Executive, been on the board 7 years.
James Tabby, Covington City Commissioner, been on the board since January as an alternate.
Rebecca McClure, City Clerk for the City of Walton. I've been on the board since.
My name's Pat Rearberty. This is my second term. I was on this board when I was in my 20s, representing Judge Ferguson years ago, and back again in my 70s, and I represent the community of Rabbit Hash.
And very well you do.
Joe Cottingham, I'm a citizen rep from Campbell County, and I am responsible for being your ethics officer. So it's a big burden and responsibility.
Thanks, Cash.
Ryan Morris, Judge in Gallatin County.
David Woodward, County Judge, Carroll County.
Matthew Dusing, Director of Government Services, Carroll County.
Marie Schenkel, I'm a citizen rep for Boone County, and I work at the health department.
I'm Brittany King. I'm a citizen rep for Kenton County.
Brian Norton, I'm the alternate for Judge Knuckleman for Kenton County.
Andy Schauble, Mayor of Alexandria, my first meeting. Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Leon Michon, Mayor.
Paul Meyer, Mayor of the City of Crescent Hills, representing Kenton County, cities under 8,000 population.
David Henson, Mayor of Williamstown. Jude Heeman, first meeting here today, Mayor of the City of Port Mitchell.
Welcome.
I'm Jamie Baker. I am the Economic Development Director, Tourism Director, Chamber Director for Grant County, and a citizen rep.
And I'm Jim Hamburg, Mayor of Southgate. Don't know how long I've been on the board, but it seems like a long time. So
You were here when I got here.
yeah, is that a long time?
I'm Amy. I work at the ad.
And I'm Tara Johnson. I've been Executive Director for just over 3 years.
and we got a couple staff members gonna make you guys do this, starting with Corbin.
Chris Corbett, Director of Finance and Administration.
The other Chris Courtney, Associate Director of Local Government Services.
Corey Eimer, Associate Director, Workforce Development.
I'm Ann Wildman, Associate Director, Aging and Disability Services.
Hello, I'm Katie Jo Berkshire Kirkpatrick. I'm the Associate Director of Community Development Planning. We do not have small titles here.
And I'm Clay Byer. I'm the IT Director here and the Facilities Director.
Except for Clay.
All right. We do have a quorum, and then we have approval of the agenda. We have one thing to consider adding to the agenda. So since the annual meeting is in September, we don't have a business meeting in September. We were made aware of a grant opportunity that we don't want to wait until the end of October. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of a resolution authorizing the ad to apply for the National Rural Transit Assistance Program. And there'll be more on that when we get to that part of the meeting, but that will be in addition to the agenda. So would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with that change. Motion second. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And that's Mark Collier. We did introductions, so you're
Hey, everybody. Thanks for that, Matt.
Do you have your new job yet?
I take it, Friday.
And that job is?
City administrator in the city of Irvine.
Congratulations. All right, next item we have is approving the minutes from the July board meeting. Had a chance to do this, and I entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
I'll second it.
Second, Mayor. Any questions, comments, additions, changes? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Into the administrative heading. Joe?
I'm happy to report you have a perfect record. I have no report.
Well, thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Corbett, give financial update.
Let's jump right into it. We're working Brent one actively to close out FY25 right now and document those practices to better execute that process internally for fiscal year FY26. F&A team, this is their moment in the sun right now. This is when it's busy. This is when you make your money. So I go, they're doing well. Jumping right into the monthly report. June, we see a 25% increase in revenue and a 14% increase in expenses to this time last year. Through the end of June, the NKADD has revenue of $46,373,000, which is about 103% of our expected revenue. So a little higher than we budgeted for there, but right where we wanted to be. And then we have a breakdown of funds, state revenue at about 66%, Fed funds just a little under 16, other funds a little under 13, local fees at about 5.2. Then we've got our lovely little graph there showing our revenue expenses and their pacing, and then coming down to the rolling KPIs. Our cash balance is almost exactly the same as it was at this point last year. Our accounts receivable balance is down about 22% from this year last year to about just a little over 3 million. Our account payable balance is down about 2%. They're a little over 1.1 million. And then our interest earned balance this time last year is 19% higher at $154,000. And our interest earned here to end FY25 is about the same as what we collected through fair share. So just a point of reference for you on that. Financial statements. Again, I go, these aren't necessarily final, right? Like these aren't going to be the ones that go to the audit. So closing those, brand more right now, closing the balance sheet today, tomorrow, and then start going through the final revenue for the various divisions next week. There will be a little movement on this, but as to be expected. Pacing right where we wanted to be there when it comes to our revenues, happy with where those are at. I go, really the only thing that I kind of draw your attention to and that I had questions on was the excess revenue over our expenditures. Just scroll down a little bit for me, Clay. Perfect. I go, perfect. Framing. I go, so we see that, and I go, one of the questions I got on that was, hey, what contributes to that? Well, part of that $4.5 million excess revenue over expenditures is, let's go up to 4,800 our carryover. Our carryover from the prior year, just a little under 3.5. So that's kind of saying, hey, we're looking at adding about $1 million through this year end of excess revenue over expenditures. And then we have those carryovers that happen. Then the programs specifically that those apply to are going to be our PDS waiver service, or our PDS waiver program, which is a fee for service program. So, we're going to actually make money in that program. We don't have to use it all in that year. So that's a bulk of our carryover. And you've had the Office of Drug Control policy now 2 years in a row, get one-time $1 million grants that came from the opioid settlements with the state. So they obviously aren't going to spend all those in 1 year. So that's also helped to build to that. And we also throw in our commodities program. That's really well funded for us, but those are things that kind of roll over, keep getting used. So I just bring your attention to that. Otherwise, this is going to move down a little bit, and we'll probably see that. I expect that excess revenue over to come down probably about $500,000 or a little more to kind of go in and dial that in. But that is what I have for a consolidated budget or consolidated financials through the end of June. What questions do you have for me?
Questions for Chris? Mayor?
I guess I have a question. Earlier in the year, I guess we earned the federal funds and federal grants, but it looks like we're only down 7%.
Yeah, and that's because
Like more than we thought we were going to.
No, one, we also did a budget amendment that changed that. So I go, we drew that down once we realized that that was going to vary, much more. So I go, we made that change in April. So I go, that's coming right about on. And two, it's as we go through and verify our revenue, is making sure, hey, did we book everything? Because sometimes we'll occasionally book those receivables, those invoices might get booked early July. And then as we do that review, go, oh, hey, this should be at 6:30. So you'll see some of that change a little bit for us. But I go, yeah, that's pacing right about where we expected it.
I can add just really briefly on the federal piece is that I think we're still waiting to see a few things that are going to come through if the federal government passes a new budget or if they do a continuing resolution. If they do a continuing resolution, then, you know, we would stay pretty steady. If they do pass a new budget, then that remains to be seen what they put in it. And so we have seen, we just got a contract 2 days ago for our JFA funds. These are the funds that fund our local government services and community development planning teams, all the work that we do directly with our local community. There's a federal piece of that. It's about a quarter of the total. The rest of it's General Assembly funds. And that did decrease $25,000. It had bumped up a little bit the last couple of years, so it takes us back to FY22 budget year. So we are seeing some things kind of, you know, changing, but we're really not going to know for sure until we see what happens with the federal budget. So just wanted to add that to go along with your question, Mayor.
Yeah, good question, and still up to see what happens next year, this year. Any other questions for Chris? Yes, Mayor.
I'm new, so just quickly learning. So it's like the interest off of revenue, is there anything like that's restricted or is there different fund? Or how does that work? I'm just trying to learn your.
When it comes to interest off of the money that we're holding in our bank account, that is almost like fee for service revenue where it's not as restricted. We're able to use that much more freely, much more widely. And it kind of comes in, it's used very similarly into the fair share, where that can be used directly for the board appointed items or for things that we go ahead and highlight in our shared and our local budget specifically, which we don't break those out here in the larger meeting. Well, that does get shown when we go ahead and do the budget approval for the upcoming year in the formerly known as the finance, the F&A committee, now going to the executive committee. So you see that breakdown.
And Mayor, an example of what we might use that money for, we're looking at doing some building improvements here, some flooring, some windows, HVAC. We might use the interest for that because it's hard to get admin fee money off of the state contracts that fund the programs that all of our associate directors do. So sometimes we sort of internally set aside that money for, hey, let's use that to improve the building because we can't use indirect allocations from an aging contract kind of thing.
I was making that assumption, just wanted to ask. Okay.
Great question.
Mr. Board Chair, this may not be appropriate right now. Chris was talking about opioid money. How are you telling entities to utilize that? We're having some difficulty getting it spent, and you know, just your thoughts I'd like to hear.
So I can answer that more as the Campbell County Administrator than the ad board chair, if it's fair. So in Campbell County, we've used that money primarily for two things. We've hired 4 police social workers for our police department, so we're paying for that. And then also there is a regional effort through the Office of Drug Control Policy that's housed here, they have called CARES. And that's an acronym, but I will never remember what that stands for, so I won't try. And it's a group of 13 to 14 different providers that are do crisis response, case management, coordinated care. They got $1 million from the state opioid abatement funding. The budget for that's about $1.6 million a year. So I know because that's part of the Office of Drug Control Policy, Boone, Campbell, and Kenton then provided the gap financing for that other roughly $600,000 to fund CARES for the year. So in Campbell County, that's allocated most of our money. I know it is difficult to spend, especially when you get smaller amounts. You know, some of our smaller cities have had trouble. Well, you know, I got $13,000. What do I do with that? Purchasing Narcan is, you know, kind of one way that can be used. But I'd also encourage you to reach out to Amanda Peters and Office of Drug Control Policy because there's there's some things that could be coordinated jointly, where if enough, cities or counties had money that on their own might not necessarily be impactful. Well, if 4 people got together that each had $15,000 to spend. That way, so what I've heard regionally, police, social workers, Narcan seem to be the big things right now. Good question as well. Anything else? Ready to approve the financial report?
Make a motion.
Do we have a second? Second, Brian. Any other questions for Chris? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris. All right, we have a couple of committee reports. The first is the Transportation Committee. Judge Morris.
I need to come up.
Oh, thank you.
I was down the line, I wasn't ready.
Moving quick today.
Yeah, so last month, or I guess actually this month, earlier this month, Transportation Committee met. The purpose of that, we met with District 6. The purpose was to look at the shift process, the projects that the district, I guess, boosted, and then our committee, we were able to add points to those projects. Now, in the shift process, I don't completely understand it. I don't know if anybody actually does, but it is a scoring system to get projects moved for, road work and that. So the ad, we were able to boost 8 projects throughout the 5 rural county region. And the district added 10 points to 7 of the projects. The committee met and we were able to push that through. The goal of that is to basically get these projects to score as high as they can so that we can get them on the governor's road plan, right? We want as many projects in there as we can because we know all our roads need work. So that's ready to go. District 6 also provided us an update on just their transportation project going on in the region, which is a lot of them. And we discussed staff here, the ad staff, Ivy and Ryan. They discussed with us the coordinated transportation plan and how we're moving forward with that. And also the rural consultation report. They gave there is also a survey going on around that. Is that survey still open? Do we know? Yep. Okay, so the survey's still open. So if you have input or we would love you to take that survey and you can get that through somebody. Will give that to us, right? We can email that or so take that. And then also, one of the things we're working on for our next meeting is our bylaws. So staff, we are working on rewriting the bylaws. We have distributed that to all of those members on the committee. And then at our next meeting, which is October the 14th, we hope to approve them as written or any changes that needed to be added to that. So is there any update, Chris, you see that we should missed?
Is it okay, bye?
Yeah.
2 things. One, for the 8 projects, they get scored. So we are competing against the other ad districts on their road projects. To be considered in the top 100, we had to receive a score of 52 or higher, and all of our projects were well over that number. So we have very competitive projects in the shift process. And then once they do get submitted in the General Assembly, that's not the last, like we're in the red zone, right? To get it across the goal line, we need to work with our legislators to make sure that those projects are in there. So if you happen to know legislator, you have a meeting with them, keep talking about road projects, because according to the last budget, there is 4 times as many requests for funding as there is projects. So we don't have enough money to compete. We have 4 times as many projects than we have funding for.
And I would just add that our state reps and state senators were in attendance. So we're inviting them to here, getting them engaged. So if you see them and mention this to them, they are very aware of what's going on. So they should be able to speak intelligently. Well, I have.
So 2 things to add on that. So they both made a key point about talking to your legislators, because remember, SHIFT is technically the governor's road plan. Sometimes the General Assembly cares what the governor thinks, sometimes they don't. So the legislators are always an effective tool. And if you're in this room from Boone, Campbell, or Kenton, wondering why you weren't part of this, That's because OKI serves as the MPO for Boone, Campbell, and Kenton, and that meeting's actually today, I think at 1 o'clock. But the AD serves as the MPO for our southern 5 counties. So the transportation and the planning staff here serves the function that OKI does. So they facilitate the shift process, the scoring process. We just happen to be an AD that's covered by 2 different MPOs. So if you're wondering why you weren't included in that and in one of the northern counties, that's because OKI covers you. So it's another role the AD serves.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Judge. And next, we're gonna have an update on the Kentucky Council of Ads meeting report from Lisa.
Thank you. Hope everybody got a chance to go to the Governor's Local Issue Conference this past, was it the first of the month? I can't remember now. It's been so, a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Recent.
And we had our ad council board meeting. We had Representative Jason Petrie there from he's chairman of the House of Appropriations and Revenue Committee. He covers Christian, Logan, and Todd County. Great discussion as to what all the ads were doing around the room that day. He did mention there was nothing on the topic of for the ads for this year. However, he did mention, and I'll ask Tara to maybe expand on this. He said the potential mission creep, could our ads creep into other objectives beyond the original purpose? I'm not sure exactly what he meant, or if anybody got a real good feel for that. But anyway, he's willing, to work with us and see what we are doing. And if there is anything pressing, we need to let Tara know.
Yeah, I can just add, thank you, Lisa. This has been an interesting thing over the last year or so since Casey Ellis, former judge executive of Owen County, he became the executive director of the Kentucky Council of Ads, and it's become a lot more engaged in a good way with the General Assembly. So I think we're having better conversations with members of the General Assembly about what are they expecting of the network of ads. And I know sometimes we sort of think of ourselves as sort of a standalone entity, but I think in Frankfurt, a lot of the leadership is really seeing us as a network. And that's the feeling that I got from Representative Petrie's presentation, is that they are really seeing us as this network, and they would like to see consistency, at least in some ways, across the various area development districts. There's 15 in total. In terms of the way that they interact with us, the kind of information that they're getting from like a data or impact standpoint, and the kind of work that we do. We're still a standalone organization, but there's just certain things they kind of like to see being similar. Like I'll give an example of the grant. Some of you are familiar with the grant. They want to see, it's almost like a competition, like which ad is generating the most grant applications for our communities. And we all know that's a little complicated because a grant can only be submitted if you're applying for federal funds. Well, some entities they're just not at a place to apply for federal dollars. So anyway, Casey, I think, is doing an excellent job of helping us navigate as a network, kind of interesting, kind of new expectations that maybe the General Assembly has. But I do think over the next year, I was happy that he said there was nothing coming up about ads overall in the next legislative session. But I would just say, kind of similar to transportation, if you have a chance to talk to your senator or representative, or like when the council offers like its luncheon every session to come down and meet with the General Assembly, I think it's probably going to be in order that we do more of that, and that we make sure that we invited the caucus, for example, to our annual meeting, and they are actually invited to every single one of these meetings too. But I did special outreach on the annual meeting just to make sure that they understand what we're doing. Because if he feels like we have mission creep, my response would be, we do things that our communities ask us to do, and everything gets board approved. But if he feels like there's mission creep, we just need to make sure we're helping them understand, why. Like, for example, somebody in the meeting mentioned workforce development is a critical thing that their ad does. And he was like, why are you even doing that? Other people do workforce. I'm like, because we're the home of the WIB. So anyway, just as an example.
Yeah. Thanks, Tara. I was just going to add, I was pleasantly surprised that he did mention that he really wanted to work with us. because I've heard over the years in the past, one of our prominent senators saying that his ad had never come to him and asked for anything. So it kind of gave us a bad light there for a little while. So I think Casey's doing a great job in getting us out there and meeting with the different regions.
Oh, Tanner, who's this guy again you're talking about? Who is he?
Representative Jason Petrie. He's the chair of the House Appropriation and Revenue Committee.
That's why we could care about him, not, you know, I know he doesn't represent any area up here. You might not be worried about who represents Christian County,
Yeah,
but you should be concerned about the House budget.
yeah, great.
He's
He's
the
an
House
attorney.
equivalent of Chris McDaniel.
All right.
Attorney by trade.
Tara, quick question on that then. You said he gave an example of mission creep, but what does he expect the mission of the ad to be then? Did he?
It wasn't really clear.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was interesting to hear his perspective. So, but yes, please speak up to your representatives and senators.
Yeah. And if anybody ever has a question of the many things that we do, or you'd like more information, either me or any of the team would be happy to go over that with you.
Discussion, anything else? Thank you, Lisa. Moving into programmatic, Katie Jo has an e-clearinghouse and an agricultural district request.
Hello, everyone.
Make a motion.
We've never turned one down, so.
Fine. The first one is actually an e-clearinghouse, and it is West Branch Road over in Crestview Hills. So it is looking at funding to resurface that roadway, which goes from Orphanage over the Thomas More Parkway. And so it will resurface it and improve spot drainage improvements. So again, I come to you to ask for your approval of this.
Crestview Hills, lack a second, move on.
Just for, just, this is a co-application, basically. City of Edgewood is also participating.
Very good. Any questions? Do we have a motion from anyone other than the mayor? Anyone other than the mayor of Crestview Hills, just to be safe?
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor? Any abstentions?
Oh, same.
Very good.
The next is agricultural districts in Gallatin County. There are 3 that we're looking at today. They're all recertification. All, one is Warsaw Road, Tunnel Road. The other one is around the airport. And the last one is between Sparta Pike, Johnson Hill Road, and 71. And these are all recertifications. And some of them, the parcel amounts and the acres have gone down. It's just because people have sold the properties and they've rezoned, not rezoned, but just resized this part. Again, please remember that this is a voluntary certification and program that is done on the state level. And so you buy a property from someone who's already in the ag district and you don't want it in the ag district, you take it out. Any questions?
These are all recertifications.
Yes, sir.
Questions? Judge, you good with it?
I'm good.
I'll take that as a motion.
That's motion.
All right, we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? They are all recertified. Thank you,
Thank
Katie Jo. Tara has a couple items for us.
Rounding us out on the programmatic side, I'm coming to you with 2 different topics for different resolutions. You had in your packet, and it's on the screen, an overview of this Vision Zero resolution. A few years ago, the ad was the recipient of a Safe Streets for All grant. It covers 7 of our counties, all except for Boone. And Chris Courtney and Jeff Thielen, our transportation manager, have been working closely with the roads departments in those 7 counties over the past, I think it has been like 2 or 3 years now, to conduct these safety reviews. And we have all that stuff back. And so it's about time to kind of finish up. And then all of those reviews then go into a plan that we can then apply for funds to implement. And so one of the components for the grant is that they would like the ad to adopt a Vision Zero resolution. I will let you know that the model resolution originally kind of was like, oh, and we want all the counties or cities to do this. We've taken all that language out. This would just, as a board, encourage our staff to be talking about Vision Zero principles when we're working with local roads departments to encourage a zero accident environment on our roads and to be thinking about how to engage lots of stakeholders for road safety. So it's really just a resolution of the board that you want our staff to be thinking about how to prevent road fatalities as much as possible.
Motion approved.
Motion, Mayor Hamburg, do we have a second? Second, Judge. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And while we're on transportation resolutions, you want to talk about the one we had?
Yes. So I apologize that I do not have this in front of you. And actually, I can just read the part that we have time, and that way you know what you're voting on. So this would be a resolution that would authorize the Northern Kentucky Area Development District to apply for the National Rural Transit Assistance Program Community Rides Grant. And the idea of this grant is that in the last couple of months, you've had a number of items come in before this board for us to work. First, we had a study about transit across our 8 counties, helping especially older adults or people without car access get to and from where they need to go, in particular, non-emergency medical appointments for our older adults. And then we had a plan that came before you for that. And then we were able to hire staff because we got an OKI grant that encourages and helps us to think about this. So we were hired, just as a quick recap for our new folks, we were able to hire a contract position, the mobility manager, who is going to be thinking about how do we engage our existing transit providers. So Tank, Owen County Public Transit, and even nonprofits like BayWac and Shaben that are helping individuals with disabilities get to jobs, where they're not going to be able to drive, but maybe they have a job at, Kroger or anywhere, and they need a ride to get there. So the idea of this work is that the mobility manager over the next 12 months-ish is trying to work with the various providers to help them come up with a single technology platform. We can call it an app, we can call it a website, I don't know, technology that will help all of those different providers talk to each other in real time. So heaven forbid, a bus breaks down. Okay, well, those people hopefully won't be stranded. They won't miss their appointment because another agency could come around and help those folks get to where they go. Or, right now, our residents locally, if they know they need to go to a doctor's appointment, they have to days in advance, if not longer, call, maybe make multiple calls to try to organize, okay, how am I going to get a ride to this appointment? Sometimes appointments change, we know this. And it can be really challenging if there's a real-time change, to get to and then back home from these things. So we hope that the technology, and one of the providers that was at the last meeting said, we use an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, well, that makes it kind of tricky, right? To be able, so the technology would help just make everything more aligned, more integrated, and hopefully a much better outcome for our local residents. So this particular grant we would apply to in partnership with Owen County Public Transit because they are already a recipient of the National 5311 funds that's for being a rural transit provider. But we could then use the funds to make sure that they and Tang and all the providers can have that integrated technology. So that's what the grant's for. This resolution would mean that we would work toward a goal of increasing regional mobility, that the Northern Kentucky Area Development District shall prepare, submit, and manage all application materials, agreements, and if the grant is awarded, all required reports for the National Rural Transit Assistance Program, Community Rides Grant Program, and that this resolution is hereby approved and adopted on a regular scheduled meeting of the Northern Kentucky Area Development District Board of Directors on Thursday, August 28th. So I'm seeking your motion to allow us to apply for the grant, and we would use this document that Matt would then sign on your behalf as part of the submission.
And again, the apologies on the timing of it. This came up after the board pack was finalized, but then not having a regular business meeting to the last week of October. We don't want to lose out on 2 months, and since it's applying for money to help pay for something locally, I was comfortable, asking everyone on short notice, or can we apply for a grant?
Motion.
Motion.
Wait,
Yeah,
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
How much is the grant for? Just
You
ballpark.
know, Bill, I want to say it's for $200,000, something like that.
And it's to buy a program where everyone in real time is talking.
Yeah, which would follow along with what was already articulated in the regional mobility plan. So it calls for that in the plan, and this would be money to then.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Is there a local match?
I don't believe it is, but I can find out. No,
I don't think it
no,
was.
Katie Jo says no.
And all the money will go toward this technology, but we will do all the administration, all that.
We have other funds to pay for administration.
Okay, so we're not asking for any admin.
I mean, I don't want to say that we're not asking for any, but it would be a very small amount if we were. Because with reporting, maybe like 5% or something, I don't know. But it would be a very small amount in the scheme of things.
The award sometime in the late fall, winter.
I honestly do not know.
And hold it up.
And unfortunately, a few of the team members that are working on this, I mean, they just found out that we were eligible to apply at the end of last week after I'd sent the board packet out. So it's a little bit rushed.
If there was a motion to approve this, I would second that motion.
Perfect, there was. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions about this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for your flexibility on there.
Yes, thank you.
Motion.
Judge Willoughby.
Right.
Still up.
If it pleases the board, I will go ahead with my report. This is a report filled with great news, and also we have a wonderful event coming up. So friendly reminder, your deadline to register, if you haven't yet, for your complimentary ticket is tomorrow. So please register if you can at all come. It is in Gallatin County at the Water's Edge Event Center, and you all probably haven't been there because it is brand new and it is absolutely beautiful. So I think you'll really enjoy it. We are having catering from Jules on the river. If you're familiar with Jules, their food is wonderful. Just talked to them today. I think there's gonna be carrot cake and like bread pudding or something. So anyway, good stuff. We're gonna be celebrating our accomplishments for the last year. And then we do have a guest speaker this year. We've had that the last couple years. They've been more like testimonials in the last couple years, but we're gonna be on the river. So we worked with the staff to kind of think about what would be good. And so we are actually going to have a presentation from Brewster Rhodes. He is the board chair of Ohio Riverway, to give an update on CORA, the Kentucky Ohio River Regional Recreation Authority, as well as the new waterway designation that the Ohio River received from the National Park Service, and other economic and recreation vibrancy type things. And Brewster, if you haven't met him, is just a very energetic and great person. So I think he'll be a really interesting speaker.
He's
Yeah.
done more stuff for this region all.
Yeah, he's the founder of Paddle Fest. So he's just an interesting, I met him about 20 years ago, and he was dressed in a full suit, and he's like, oh, I have time before my next meeting. And he went and got his kayak and got in the river in his suit. So he's just an interesting person. I really think you'll all enjoy hearing from him, and I really do hope that you can attend. Okay, so our strategic plan that you all passed last May calls really for three main things. If you kind of break it down, it's about outreach to our communities. Oh, I'm good. We'll just stay here for a second. Outreach to our communities and our residents and our employers, engagement, increasing of our board, and then increasing the capacity of our staff to do what you need us to do. And so we've had a number of engagement opportunities and outreach opportunities recently. Older adult outreach, we know, is a critical component of what we do. And so our team was able to participate in the Local 12 Community Day. It was very well attended. It was over here at the Turfway Park, very busy. They did a very nice job engaging with the public. And we also have another event coming up that I would encourage you, if you have any interest, to attend on October 7th at the Erlanger branch of the library. There's going to be a residents' rights forum. This is required from the state that we conduct this. There's actually going to be residents of local personal care homes and nursing homes. There's going to be transportation for them to come if they wish. And then there's going to be an opportunity for them to share their experiences and for the community to kind of hear about those and for there to be a dialogue. We're also inviting like the Northern Kentucky Caucus, but we certainly would love it if any board members were interested and available. I think it would be very helpful just to hear about their experiences. So anyway, you can mark your calendars for October 7th for that event. We also have been, increasing our outreach to local officials. And so that has been through the great programming that's been taking place lately through the Municipal Government League. They've had a lot of speakers and a lot of rich content, but they're also having a little fun. So they recently had their social event at the Y'all Stadium. Just a few pictures from that event. We had a couple of caucus members, and then we had quite a bit of attendance. So if you didn't come this year, you can mark your calendar for next year. It really was a good time. Me and my crew stayed through the whole game. The game, I'm not even a baseball fan, but the game actually ended, like it was tied up at the very end, and there ended up being a run, and they scored and the Y'alls won. It was actually awesome. So that was cool. Local Issues Conference. I just wanted to mention this because I actually heard from a few of our elected officials that you didn't know about this conference. And so I just want to apologize. First of all, next year we will make sure to send out information about registration so that you know when it's coming and that you can sign up. There was a good showing from Northern Kentucky, but certainly it was a very, again, couple days rich with lots of seminars on, everything from hazard mitigation to various grants and different things like that. So it was a good time, and we have a lot of newer staff on our local government services team and community development planning teams. And so it was great for us to be able to increase their understanding and capacity by sending them to this conference. That worked out really great. So anyway, that was just lunch. Also just want to, share another little piece of good news. You've heard me now for a while. We talked about the housing work that just kind of came upon us a few years ago as we addressed our workforce needs. That ended up being the data study. And then from the data study, we did the Home for All report. Well, the Home for All report received a Kentucky Housing Corporation Innovation Award last week. So that was pretty neat. They asked us to present as the lunch speaker at their conference. And then, so that was a handful of folks, me, Wanda Winkler from the Brighton Center, Judge Pendry, and Brett Cooper from the chamber they just volunteered. And so we kind of explained the work. And then Wanda and I had a breakout session too that got kind of detailed about how we were able to convene, because this was a statewide group. So they were interested in our ability to collaborate like we do. And people say this all the time, but it's really true. Collaboration is Northern Kentucky's superpower. Nobody does it in Kentucky as well as we do as far as working with partners. And so they asked us if we could explain what does it look like to collaborate with your fellow, organizations. And so that's what our presentation was all about, which was pretty cool to be able to do. And then we were very, very honored to be able to accept the award on behalf of the whole region. So it wasn't to the ad, it wasn't to Brighton, it wasn't to anybody in particular. It was to the report and all of the partners, which there were more than 90 individuals that took part in that report. So we will be doing a press release hopefully super soon to kind of get the word out. But it was very cool. Okay, I'm just going to keep going, but if you have questions, you can stop me. Just as a reminder, what's the ad doing now on housing? Working with partners on developing a metrics dashboard so we can see how we're filling our housing gap since the data study was conducted in 2023. We are not going to be the home for the housing fund. That is not our area of expertise. That's not what we're going to do. But we have been working with other partners to facilitate creating one because we need one to facilitate some of the infrastructure costs and various things to make additional residential product be on the market. That's probably going to be, I don't think it's a huge secret. It's not necessarily public either, but that's probably going to happen at the Catalytic Fund. They are looking toward increasing their footprint. It's currently a nonprofit that just serves the river cities along the Ohio. So Ludlow, Covington, Bellevue, Dayton. Ludlow, Covington, Bellevue, Dayton, Newport. Sorry, Newport. But they are looking at increasing their area so that they can serve more folks and have a residentially focused fund. So we're working with them on just helping them navigate local government because that's not really what they do. And then we're hoping to host, and this is probably news to Corey, but maybe we can host some kind of employer-based housing event in partnership with the Chamber and NKY Works this fall or maybe in the spring. So also love to brag on the team. Tilwa Zachary, our Kentucky Caregiver Program Specialist that's helping grandparents who are raising their grandchildren get this assistance that they need. She was able to present at the Advancing States Home and Community-Based Services Conference this week. So that's a great honor for her and her work. And then Taylor Freiliger, our Senior Public Administration Specialist in Local Government Services, is now on the board for the American Society for Public Administration's Greater Cincinnati chapter. So go Taylor. And then this is just because I didn't know where else to put it. So I'm on a group of all the other ad district executive directors, and they asked me to continue being the chair of their workforce committee. But I do have a co-chair now, which is awesome. And then I'm the co-chair of the legislative committee. So more to come on that as we get closer to session. And then that was all really good news. So I thought it might be helpful for you to just know what we're watching. As we talked about earlier in the meeting, we're watching federal funds and budget to see what happens. We're definitely watching what the General Assembly might do for their 2026 session, which is a budget session. We want to support all of our communities doing project development that hopefully lead to grants and more funding for your community. So if you have thoughts about what that might look like in your community, let us know. Katie Jo did, and her team did create the grant guide a few months ago. That's still available. But we're looking at trying to think through about community forums and different ways to help us understand what your visions are for your communities so that we can be on the lookout for grants and opportunities that might serve you. We've been talking about after the next election or maybe the following one, doing a training for newly appointed, or I said appointed because we do actually have some new mayors that are actually have been appointed. So maybe some additional training for newly appointed or elected officials. And then we just want to keep on with our outreach efforts. So if you know of an event that's happening in your community, please let us know and we will try to be there. But sometimes we try to keep up with, we got the newspapers and we really do read those out front, but we don't necessarily always know everything. So if you know of an event that's coming up and you think, oh, that ad should call us and we'll try to get somebody there. And that's all, unless you have questions.
Questions for Tara?
Yes.
The SEDS report that we updated this year,
Yes.
when will that be turned in?
That gets submitted in December. And so that will come before this group again in October. Just an update this year, but we have as kind of shop that around to some of the local economic development folks. So if somebody does have a project that you want to have done and you think it might need federal funds, if there's a chance it needs federal funds, please let Katie Jo know so she can get it into the SEDS update, because they'll often look at the SEDS to see, oh, this community's planned for this. And then you get kind of extra points, if you will, or better consideration from especially EDA funding if your project is in the comprehensive economic development strategy or SEDS. So, yeah, good question.
Any other questions for Tara? Anyone have any announcements? Anyone like,
Annual meeting.
would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.